Hello, good afternoon everyone. My name is Yan and YoRipe is actually here to help you cook better, and we just launched a new app that you can find over 800 videos, recipes by cuisine, by categories like one pot meal. So really easy, give your brain a break and download the app. Today we're going to learn two very innovative dishes, chicken rendang rice burrito and nutty kaya rice pudding. It's amazing that we can use very simple ingredients to make something completely innovative. Today's class is special for two reasons. First, I'm very excited to work with Chef Michelle for the very first time. She's a Michelin star restaurant trained chef, a TV producer, and a avid home cook. Hi everybody! So today we're just going to do two very super simple recipes. Hopefully by the end of it, you're going to have a lovely dinner. The second reason that this class is special is that we are working with SongHe as partner today. Actually, I remember growing up eating SongHe fragrant rice and glutinous rice, but I didn't know that they're actually a local brand from Singapore, and they've been here for over 30 years. So we're really happy to also collaborate with local brand and enjoying local products. So let's start cooking. We're going to start off with the main course today, which is the chicken rendang burrito. What's the difference between a burrito and a kebab? When you hear burrito, it means that there's rice inside. What I want to do today is that it's recipe ideas, right? Although we've given you a recipe, but it's really just ideas that you can play around with. This is just one variation. So to begin, we're gonna have to marinate our chicken first. So I have here chicken thigh, which I've already actually cut up into tiny pieces like this, 1-inch pieces, so that it's easy for us to wrap it up into the burrito, as well as to cook. Yes. So it's fast cooking, because when you have a big chunk, of course, the cooking time becomes longer. You can use breast meat if you prefer. I'm just a dark meat person, just because I feel like it's a little bit more flavorful and it's more tender. And what I have here is instant rendang paste. It's just because it's easy, quick to use. I'm just going to use a portion of it. Make sure that it's well coated, okay? That all the chicken pieces actually have the rendang paste on it. And then once you see that it is all nicely coated, we'll just keep it aside. Next, we're going to move on to the rice for the burrito. Minced shallots, rice of course from SongHe, 200 grams, a sprig of curry leaves. What I tend to do before I actually cook with any of this curry leaf, I tend to take it off the stem and then you just kind of rub it together. This little action actually releases the oil and makes it just even more fragrant. And this works with any kind of herbs that you would use. Okay, rosemary, thyme, lemongrass. Cut them into segments. How do you release the aroma? Do you bash it? Just bash it with the back of your knife. Let's just start cooking. So we're using a rice bran oil, which is actually have a high smoking point, so it's really great for cooking. The rice has actually been rinsed and washed already. I've dried it out a little bit. I actually learned this technique when a chef of mine back in the hotel said that, oh, let's cook rice pilaf. That's the name of the type of rice, but it's actually a method of cooking. And what they do is to stir fry the rice slightly before actually putting the liquid into it. Once your oil actually gets to temperature, we just add the shallots in. Medium heat. Once you can smell that aroma, that fragrance, you don't need it to be brown, okay, because it burns very easily, especially when it's minced. This is when we throw in the curry leaves. So once you can actually start smelling the curry leaves, add in the rice. Ooh, okay. And then we stir it. We just give it a stir. Now I'm going to add in the seasoning. So I have a bit of cayenne pepper here. If you prefer not so spicy, then just go for something like paprika. Onion salt. If you don't have onion salt, you can use onion powder. Onion powder, yes. Onion powder actually gives this amazing fragrance. White pepper. Yep. So we don't have to add additional salt because the onion has already. That's right. If we use onion powder, should we add some salt? Yes. But of course, go with your own taste. Some people prefer their rice to just be simple. Give it a slight stir. Can you see that the rice starts to get a little bit translucent? Yes, it's changing color. Yeah, changing from white to translucent. So that is what we actually want. And what I realized from cooking this method is that at the end of the day, the product that comes out, it actually gets more grainy, like grain by grain. So you don't actually get sticky rice. Chicken stock. We actually have less liquid because the rice is semi-cooked. You know, we're not starting from raw. So it actually has already absorbed some of the oil and moisture. So you don't need so much water compared to if you cook the rice in a rice cooker. SongHe actually recommends that we cook their rice 1-to-1 ratio. So, but this one is probably 1 to 80%. You give it one stir and don't touch it anymore. We're going to add in lemongrass. Now it's boiling and I'm going to close it. We're going to let it cook. I'm going to put it in this stove behind us so we can get going with other stuff. Just go on low heat because although I'm using a non-stick pot, I don't want it to burn at the bottom. The difference between rendang and curry is that curry you tend to have a lot more gravy, a lot more saucy. Whereas for rendang, it's
a dry curry. We're going to start right off with the rendang. I'm using a pan because of time, so we want the sauce to sort of evaporate and thicken faster. But of course, you can use a pot.
We don't have onion powder. Can we use some onions?
Yes, of course. Onion powder is a good to have seasoning, but if you don't have, you can always add in more shallots. You can add in red onions, even yellow onions. I'm just smashing the lemongrass for the rendang. Garlic, I've actually minced it. Shallots, this one I've actually pureed because I prefer it adds to that consistency. Chicken marinated from just now, the instant rendang paste, some water here. Depending on the rendang paste or the curry paste that you have chose to buy, just follow the instructions on the back because they tend to tell you how much coconut milk, how much water to put in. I go with my feel because sometimes I like it thicker, I like more coconut milk. I always have on standby salt over here and sugar. People were like, oh, why you add sugar to a rendang or curry? Actually, there is always sugar that is added to a curry or a rendang because it helps to balance off that flavor and to counter off the spice and the salty. It's the levels of flavor. Optional ingredients that you can add in if you wish to would be star anise, cinnamon, cloves, the whole spice, not the powder. That also adds in, that additional flavor. There's one thing that I like to do when I use cloves and star anise, actually to count the number of pieces that goes in so that I can count the number of pieces that I take out before I serve. You don't want to bite into the cloves. It's medium heat again. When cooking, I tend to add in the onions, shallots, leek, the onions family first. You need that time to spread out before you add everything else. It helps to give that sweetness. Garlic. I'm going to add in the rendang paste now. Although this actually has been already cooked off, but I like to add it in first. So although this is rendang, I'm actually making it slightly salty because I want to drizzle it over the rice afterwards in the burrito. Okay, this is all together nicely. You can put in the chicken which we marinated earlier.
Right.
I let it go for a while, which means to let the chicken just brown. When you're eating it, there seems to be a little bit of color. Not burnt color, but that brown color. The other thing that I learned with rendang, which we are not doing here, but please do take note, would be to add in curry stick, which is actually like toasted coconut sugar, curry stick. You can actually get it very easily from the Indian store or Malay store in the wet market. This is what you would want, right? A bit charred. And goes the water. 2 pieces of chicken thigh. I have added in only 100 milliliters because we want a rendang, not a curry. And now we can bring down the heat. I forgot the lemongrass. Okay, we're going to let it simmer for a while before we're going to do a taste test. Chicken thigh can actually get tough, so you don't want that, right? That happens when it's cooking too fast. So let's just let it simmer. So actually our rice is ready. Generally the rice takes about 15-18 minutes, okay? So, but this one is a small portion, so it's actually done.
What Michelle described, right? Not sticky at all.
So they're very individual, grains.
So the best part is taste it, and you feel like it's a bit undercooked, it's a bit hard for you, cook it for a few more minutes.
Yeah, the rice that we use today is actually white rice. You can use any type of rice. Red rice, brown rice,
and even a mix. Brown rice, red rice, because of the husk, it's a higher nutrition, better dietary fiber.
Because it's low GI, it releases the carbohydrates, all the sugars, slower in the body.
You don't get the spike.
That's right.
In the blood sugar.
It's a lot better for people who diabetes.
You can check out SongHe's range in brown rice, red rice as well.
For white rice, what we tend to do is we're just going to wash it until the water is clear and then we'll cook it.
Yeah.
But for brown rice, especially the ones with the husk on, I would wash them, then I would soak them. If I don't have time, minimum of 30 minutes, but sometimes if I have time, I'll just let it sit there, for like an hour or so before I actually cook it. So it softens it up. In case you're wondering, for glutinous rice, you tend to want to soak it overnight. But do make sure when you're soaking it to actually have like 2 to 3 inches of excess water on top of the surface because it soaks up all that water. And there was one batch where I didn't have enough water. The next morning, my rice, it started fermenting because there was the air and then the moisture. I mean, I could have really made rice wine.
Wow, okay, interesting.
Looking very, very decent, guys. I'm just going to do a taste test. A little bit of sugar. Like I said, this part here, I am actually not going to be giving you any measurements simply because this is up to your taste, right? Add in the coconut milk now. And once you add in coconut milk with anything at all, do not bring it to a rolling boil anymore, just a simmer, because the coconut milk will split, because coconut milk is actually very high in fat. From the color, I can tell that I would want a little bit more, so I'm just going to throw everything in. Okay. This is 100 mils of coconut milk as well. The one that I use today is actually the full cream one. Some people prefer to use skim or the light one. It's really up to you. Reason why I like the full cream one is because it's full body. The light one tends to be a little bit watered down. If you're cooking a smaller portion of chicken, use less paste, because if not, you'll end up very spicy and very salty. Sorry. You actually have the dressing as well.
Okay.
It's very simple. Plain yogurt, mint leaves. One tip about cutting herbs is that you always want to use a sharp knife, because without a sharp knife, what happens is that it bruises your herbs and it turns black. Paprika in here. This is about half a teaspoon. This is actually garlic. You can actually use raw garlic minced, but this one is actually just a lightly fried garlic, just because some people don't like the very sharp taste of raw garlic. Add a little bit of salt and some pepper. This dressing is very versatile. Chicken is ready. We've got our dressing. So we have the romaine lettuce, red onions, cucumber, and fries. I'm just going to chop up a little bit of the coriander to mix it up into the rice.
Okay.
This is a store-bought wrap. I usually put the lettuce on top of wraps or whichever rolls that I'm making, because I feel like it actually is a vessel that holds all the sauces, so it won't leak through. So you see that there is the little sauce here. I'm actually going to drizzle a little bit more. What you can do after this would be to put it yet onto another pan and just to heat it up on both sides.
Wrapped the burrito, and then we're going to start making the rice pudding.
Rice that's already been pre-cooked. This is a perfect recipe for leftover rice. Kaya here, gula melaka, a bit of pandan flavor. You can also choose to go like all natural, where you actually crush up your pandan leaves, put it into the blender, add some water, and you get that green goodness out of it. Right? Lemon for the lemon zest. A pinch of salt. That pinch of salt is just to balance it out. Start with putting in the rice. Turn on the flame. I'm going to add in milk and coconut milk, okay? This is coconut milk that's going in first. This is 100 mils. And an equal amount of milk that's going in as well. Okay, and this is fresh milk. Kaya goes in. This is 1 big tablespoon of kaya. And we could actually even add in the pandan leaf to cook it in as well. The gula melaka. If you don't have the gula melaka syrup, do just go and chop up some of the chunks. Let it melt in there. Just really like 2 drops. Don't need too much of it, because if not, it'll be very overpowering. This is when I add the pinch of salt. Really just a pinch, because the star here is not the salt, but you just want that little bit of salt flavor. Nuts, that's why it's nutty. Almonds, macadamia, walnut, dried cranberries, which I'm actually going to add in now. Fresh raspberries only when we finish. This is the consistency that I think that is still a little bit thick. I actually do want to add in some more milk. Let me just chop this up. This is for toppings afterwards. You can use whatever serving cups that you have.
You can see the texture of the rice. Really like a thick porridge.
Usually, with like a pudding, right? Just give it a tap. Now we will just cling wrap it, put it into the fridge, let it chill. If you take a look, right, it actually has set on top. We have ice cream, raspberry, just nuts.
Very good. It's soft. The ice cream really helps give the extra creamy flavor, and you can taste the nuts. I'm back to childhood.
Another way of actually using a rice pudding would be like a creme brulee. So instead of a creme brulee custard at the bottom, you have a rice pudding, and then after that you sprinkle the top with sugar. Yep, right. Cover the top, and then you blow torch it. All you have to do with the lime zest would be. Thank you for the reminder. It actually completely changes the flavor again. Chicken pieces. You can see the rice at the bottom and some of the green.
The rendang is really good, and it's so good in the wrap because it's not too wet. Like this is food when you eat when you're hungry. Gives
Yeah.
you energy. Oh wow! I really want to thank Chef Michelle today for teaching us really two creative dishes. If you want to find out more about Michelle, her interesting cooking, I know she has really nice videos. On her Instagram is Tinkle Fun. So please follow Michelle and lots of good cooking, good food coming to your feed. Big thank you to SongHe, our partner today, and also the rice grain oil. Thank you again for joining us. Hope to see you soon again next week.